Hello Network, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the Disney.
Well, hello everyone and welcome in. Once again, we are so pleased, really, to see so many people coming into the six screens as of late. Things are happening in the Jehovah's Witness world. We are seeing the witness world hemorrhaging. We are seeing more and more people leaving the Watchtower. And why wouldn't they be leaving the Watchtower? They have been involved in so many scandals. They have been involved in so much corruption. But I'm glad you're here. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. But anyways, my name is Rick Farron. I am coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And boy, it is a good thing to have apostates in your neck of the woods. I am very thankful. We do have a lot of apostates up here. I think more than any other quadrant of the world, really. Many people have left the Watchtower up here, and we're so happy to see that we're in good company. Now, don't you worry. If you are a person who's leaving the Watchtower and you're saying, Rick, I don't have any apostates in my neck of the woods, don't let that bother you. Friends, the Jehovah's Witness organization is cooked. Take them off the grill. They are no longer going to have the power, the structure that they've had in the decades past. That's over. We are now entering a new era of the Watchtower. They are hemorrhaging, like I say. They are on life support. I don't know where they can go. I think people listening to this program are thinking the same thing. Where does the Jehovah's Witness organization go next? What can they do? I mean, they have got such a bad image. When you get in Google, when you get in Safari, when you get on the various search engines, you will see just what I'm talking about. I don't have to tell you. I'm preaching to the choir. Now, I want you guys to put your thinking cap on. If you had a business that had as much bad press as the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization has, how long do you think that business could stay in business? It couldn't. Do you remember a few years back? Does anyone out there go to Chipotle? Do you like Chipotle? It's not bad. It's a popular restaurant, but a few years back, I'd say probably about 7 years ago, they had a real scare. They had some people get poisoned. I believe a few people even died because of it. Chipotle, as we know it, almost went down the tube. They were very close to going out of business. That's where the Watchtower is right now. Now, they're not poisoning people with real physical food. They're poisoning people with their high control group. They're poisoning people with their spiritual matter. They're poisoning people all over the world. It's finally catching up with them. Now, they're going to have to change, just like Chipotle did. You know what Chipotle did? Well, they used to, they would buy all of their products, their avocados and their different lettuce and tomatoes and all the things they use in their Mexican dishes. They would buy locally. And, sometimes the local suppliers, from what I understand, they weren't as stringent on their quality control. So some of this got through and poisoned people. So that's what happened from what I got information here. And what's going on is similar to the Watchtower. They're poisoning people. People are basically dying spiritually because of the Watchtower. Well, in fact, I have to tell you, the fall of Jehovah's Witness organization is imminent. Do you agree to that? Well, we're going to talk about that just very, very shortly. But before we get into that, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. Now, we had on our earlier program here, we had Watchtower Insider Barbara Anderson Tells All. Boy, she had a wonderful program tonight. And she was going to have Steve Rose coming out of England, excuse me. He was coming out of England, and he was going to be on the program, but Steve couldn't make it. Well, he couldn't make it, but we couldn't get him connected. I guess Steve doesn't have a computer, so we're trying to get him on our StreamYard and what happens through Facebook. We just were very unsuccessful, but we're going to get Steve back on. So, Steve, if you're out there listening, thank you for making that attempt to come on. So, anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send Steve. We have a 6 screens app that you can call into from almost anywhere around the world, and you can make comments. It's a 6 screens app, but I'll tell you how you get it. You go to, you actually go to your Google store, or you can go to the Apple iPhone store, that store where you can get various apps, and you want to check out free conference call. And you'll see the app. It's a blue phone. It's a picture of a blue phone. Get that app. It's free. Just get the app. And the password that you want is JW Talk. That's the app that you want to get. And you can dial in from anywhere around the world for free. So by all means, give it a shot. I think you'll really like it. We're sending that off to Steve. We do have the duck. You see the duck right here? We're going to do the duck tonight. Give you guys a chance to win some prizes. Did you remember the old Groucho Marx show? Remember Groucho would interview some guests, and during the course of the interview, he had a duck that would come down from a string, and if you said the secret word. So as we have people calling in tonight, if they say the secret word, which we have in a sealed envelope, if they say the secret word here tonight, they're going to win a prize. And we got some really good prizes. Now, what you do is you're going to gather points, but I'm not going to keep score for you. But at the end of the program, if no one said the secret word, we'll give you some clues, and then you can win points, but you have to keep the points yourself. So if you answer correctly, give yourself a point. The more points you get, the bigger the prize. We even have a $100 prize we'll be giving away here soon. So by all means, bear that in mind. We get McDonald's gift certificates. We got these wonderful books. I know I show them to you all the time. I've already sent a whole lot of them out. How about a nice book like this? How about this right here? Captives of a Concept by Don Cameron. Well, that got my wife Susan basically out of the so-called truth. Maybe it got you out of the truth. And what about this one right here? Millions Now Living Will Never Die. We've got about 10, 15 different books here. Watchtower books written about the Watchtower. So if you would like to win one of those books, by all means, we'll have you call in, say the secret word. At the end of the program, we'll have a little contest where you have a chance to get one of the secret words. All right, let's talk about our convention. Now, friends, I have to tell you, I'm getting geared up. We're a year out now. We do have everything all finalized at the Hilton Hotel. It's been a real issue with them, but I do have it all finalized. The Hilton Hotel is where we're going to hold the convention. The convention's theme is still alive in 2025, and that's going to be up at the Hilton Hotel up here in the greater Boston area, and the tickets are free. Now, I know we've got close to over 200 people that have sent me information. They want tickets. You'll be getting them. I said this week, but definitely not next week. Just had a couple of things to work out with the Hilton so that we can get you the best deal. So we're all set now. We are all set to get you your tickets. So if you mailed me within the last 6 months, well, the last 4 or 5 months, you'll get your tickets this week. And we'll talk more about it as we go along. But friends, we are going to have a great convention. This is going to be the first of its kind ever in the ex-witness world. We're hoping to get 500 people plus. Our auditorium holds 500 people. So we already have 232 or something like that people coming. So by all means, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'll send you a ticket. They're all numbered. They're free. Each ticket has a number. So the first 500 people are the first people to have tickets with 500 and under. They get a seat in the main auditorium. The others after that will have to sit and poke their nose in the doorway or listen on their phone or whatever. So it's fine. So that's going to be coming up 2025, August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. That'll be 2025. It's not this August, obviously, but next August. Okay, so by all means, next August 2025. We'll look forward to seeing you at the convention. Now, just to give you an idea, we do have some guests already. We're trying to get some really high profile guests to come and be with us in person as well as on the internet. I tell you, we got a couple of good high profile people already. We do have a woman that's an expert. She works at a Kentucky university. She is the main expert on artificial intelligence. She's coming. She's going to give a talk on Watchtower and artificial intelligence. And then we also have Fritz Springmeier. Fritz Springmeier will be coming. I've talked to him this week, and he's coming up with his family. We're looking forward to that. He's got a brand new book, too, he wants to release concerning the Jehovah's Witnesses. So we're getting some good people coming. And in the next, as we go along through the year, I'll let you know exactly who's coming. Now, we got a couple of really good things going at this convention, and I know you're going to find it very fascinating. When you come in on Friday morning, we're going to have a meet and greet with people from all over the world, ex-witnesses coming in. We got them coming from New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom, and all across America. And when these people come, they're going to tell their story. We're going to give them all the microphone. We're going to give them all the microphone for, I'd say, probably 10 minutes or so, and they can tell us why they came and what went on in their life in the Watchtower world. And then we'll have talks. We'll have authors there that have written books. We'll have books for sale by the authors. And on Saturday night, friends, I want you to know we got a great thing coming up on Saturday night. We're going to have the first YouTube ex-witness YouTube awards. We're going to have some awards we're giving out to some of the YouTubers in the ex-witness world that really made a difference, And friends, I want to let you know, all of you YouTubers have made a difference, but some have spent some really good time in making really good quality videos, and it's helped so many witnesses. So we're going to have YouTube's award night on Saturday. So looking forward to that. We are going to have a blast. So try to make it by all means. All right, so that's it. I was going to show you some pictures of the Hilton, but you don't have to see those. It's a beautiful place. They got a pool. I mean, why don't you come up here on vacation? Make Massachusetts your vacation destination. Hey, look we're up here in New England. You know, we're still part of the United States. We got beautiful area up here. Generally speaking, in the summer, it's a lot cooler than other parts of the country. We've got mountains, we got the ocean, we got Cape Cod, we got history, we got culture. Make it a vacation. Come on up here. And then what we'll probably do after the convention the following week, if all goes well, maybe we can all take some sightseeing trips together. Maybe we can all get in my van or get a bus to do something and take a drive around the area and show you and tell you all about the apostate capital of the world. So by all means, we're looking forward to that. All right. So anyways, let's get right to it. Let's get to the news. Let's see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. The fall of Jehovah's Witness organization is imminent. Do you believe it? Yeah, it's imminent. I'm telling you right off the bat. Look at what all of the false predictions, failed predictions, with so many people seeing how this high control group has been trying to maintain recruiting, even during all of these various new light episodes they've been bringing out in the last year. Many witnesses are seeing through this. This is not Jehovah's Witness organization that we all grew up in. This is not your grandfather's Oldsmobile, so to speak. So what we have now is we have more people leaving the Watchtower than ever before in the history of the Watchtower. And I know I bring this up. You say, well, wait a minute, Rick. You know, back when Rutherford took over, 250,000 people left. I know that. Then you might say, well, Rick, wait a minute. Back in 1975, 250,000 people left again. I know that. But wait a minute. Are you taking PMOs into consideration? Those who are physically in and mentally out? How many PMOs do you think there are? Oh, my goodness. How many people are questioning the Watchtower? Well, we're not talking 250,000. We're not talking 1 million. We're not talking 2 million. We're not talking 3 million. We're talking half. I would say half of the Jehovah's Witness organization are PMOs. They don't believe this. They're just staying in. Why? Well, they're just going through the motions in a perfunctory way. They're staying in because they don't want to be disfellowshipped and shunned. And so we have all these PMOs, millions of them, that are on the verge of cutting loose from the Watchtower. Well, would you want to be a governing body member and having this many dissatisfied people? What if you were running a business? What if you were Chevrolet and you had all these people that couldn't stand your product? Well, that's exactly the position the Watchtower finds themselves in. People cannot stand their product anymore. So let me just see one thing here to make sure. We do have some active speakers coming on. We're just going to mute Tom here. All right. So also we have got nations. And this is what really excites me, friends. We have got nations, countries that are coming down on the Jehovah's Witnesses, i.e. Watchtower. Why are countries coming against them? Can I name some? Yeah. Japan, Norway, Belgium, Sweden. We've got Russia, of course, has got them banned. We got Finland. We got the UK. We got Canada. We've got up in Quebec. So all kinds of problems. We got at least a dozen countries that are coming against the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's because of what they do. Friends, this is not the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization is not some, little organization that is really out there helping people. Countries are realizing the Watchtower is hurting people. They're breaking families apart. They're causing suicides. We got people not taking blood transfusions and dying. We have an organization totally out of control. And the countries are understanding this. Oh, I feel so good. So, yeah, I do believe the fall of the Jehovah's Witness organization, I feel it's very, very imminent. And I'm sure you do too. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm sure you agree with everything I've said here. I don't think there's anybody that would disagree with that. Now, I wanted to talk about empty regional conventions. Now, we've been talking about this for the last few months here. We know the regional convention started the end of May. So here we are in August. But there's still regional conventions taking place around America and around the world, but mostly here in America. Then they'll go over into Europe, and they're already starting in Europe to some degree. But I got information this week, reports coming in about some of the conventions. Now, out in Tucson, Arizona, the Spanish Congregations Convention. Now, the attendance last weekend for the Friday session was 2,874. That before lunch, and that was the lowest attendance, according to the report that came into me here, that this person, I'm not going to give names, that this person has ever seen. And he told me that he remembered 10 years ago, you actually would struggle to find a seat. Now, you probably have found yourself in that situation. I did when I was one of the Jehovah's Witnesses and we had 5 children. I would have to, leave the hotel room I was staying in, go down to the convention arena. And when they opened the doors, somewhere around 7, I would rush in and I would put books or my coat or whatever on the seats so I could save them. The attendants didn't really like it, but that's the only way you get a seat for 7 people. So here we go, the same arena that had 2,877 in attendance last week in Tucson, Arizona. Well, now you'd be struggling to get up to the amount they used to get years ago, 7,000. So, that's more than half of the witnesses are missing from years ago. And if you arrived late in the 80s and 90s, you would not get a seat at a convention or an assembly. It was a very, very difficult procedure. And now let's take a look. Let's look out at Long Beach, California. Well, the Spanish congregations, they met last weekend as well. And there was 4,700. 47. Now, that's a big arena out there in Long Beach. So there's 47 who met. Now, usually, a few years back, there would have been 1,000 people. So half of the attendance. So, I'm going to show you, let me show you a couple of pictures from some of the conventions this year. I happen to have them right here. Let me show you some. Now, this one here is really amazing. I've been showing this for the last few weeks. Take a look at that. That is Lowell, Massachusetts. That is right up in my neck of the woods. And those are empty seats. Now, that arena, that's the Songus Center. Now, that arena holds 6,500 people. How many people do you think were there on Sunday? Sunday's usually the biggest day, right? Well, there was around 2,300 people there. 2,300 people there on Sunday. So you can see that. Look at all those empty seats. And take a look over here. Let's see what this is. I think this is in, well, look at that. That's empty seats. I'm not sure what that is. People have been sending me pictures, but they're scared to death. They're still kind of afraid of telling me where it is because they're afraid they'll get caught. But to take a look over here, there's another. Well, there's a bunch of empty seats there as well. Now let's move up a little bit. Here's the Greenville. Let's go up here a little more. I want you to see this. This is in England. This is in Brighton, England. Look at that. That is embarrassing. Don't look at all of those seats that are empty. That is totally, totally embarrassing. So, the assemblies of years ago, you go back to 50s, to 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's what the conventions look like. Look at that picture. Look at the people. Look, thousands of people. I don't know where that was taken. It looks like Yankee Stadium. But I was there back in 1969 for the Peace on Earth convention. 120,000 people. You are never going to see that again in the world of the Watchtower. Those big conventions, it's over. It's finished. It's over. The monkey died. The circus is over. Well, what else can I say? That's exactly what's going on in the Watchtower, all those empty seats. Now, what would you do? What would you do if you were a governing body member and you saw all those empty seats? Now, would you really want to make it known that friends were tanking? Well, nobody would ever do that. If you have a business that's doing no business, you don't want to tell the world how lousy your business is. But crying aloud, you don't want to lie, but the Watchtower would. But you want to tell people it's great, it's wonderful. Well, I have to tell you, it's not wonderful in the Jehovah's Witness world. It's really not wonderful at all. What are you guys thinking? Anybody out there want to comment? Did anyone go to conventions this year as a PMO? Anyone want to tell us what you've been hearing? Have people been liking the convention? I've been hearing that they don't like it. People don't like the. Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Thomas Foster here in Lawrence, Kansas here. My thing is, I'm really thinking if it keeps going like it is, I question if they even have a convention by next year. I'm just thinking they're going to kind of do away with it. I really think that could happen because, you got less than half attending. It's going to be really embarrassing if it gets down to like only 20% or 25%. I'd be surprised if they still continue to have them, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, well, that's a good observation because, if you were Ringling Brothers Circus, which they're out of business basically now, but if you were Ringling Brothers Circus and you showed up one of those big tents and less than half the arena was filled, how often would you'd have to say, hey, we got to throw it in here. It's not working. So that's a good observation, Thomas. Yeah, the Watchtower at some point is going to say, hey, look, this isn't worth it. We're renting these facilities. The brothers and sisters are trying to get here. The hotel room rates are high. That's probably another reason that's keeping people away. But at some time, I would think the Jehovah's Witnesses, governing body, whoever, has got to say, hey, we got to do something about this. This is not working anymore. Yes, they need a new business plan. What do you think, Tom? Go ahead.
Rick?
Let's go. Okay, let's go with Susan. Susan, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking something, what the Thomas said made me think. They were doing Zoom calls during COVID. It'd be cheaper for them to just do a Zoom assembly. Have the governing body give a lot of the parts, and it would be an exciting thing. for the witnesses to hear them, so-called reciting, for them to hear them give talks and so forth. It could really save money. But I was thinking too, the Watchtower has said that if they ever didn't have enough money to print the Watchtower, that they would know that the monkey died and circus was over. They made that promise years ago. Well, they barely print the Watchtower now, and so I think they're recognizing that they've already stated that they close up because Jehovah would not want them to continue. So if you want to go look at it from their viewpoint, Jehovah's not really with them.
Well, that's exactly right. Well, that was Pastor Russell, Susan. And he said, the day that we have to ask for money is the day that we don't have Jehovah's backing. Well, they've been asking for a lot of money lately. And if you couple that with the empty seats, something's wrong in JW land. Something's definitely wrong. Susan, thank you. Always good to hear from my beautiful wife. Thank you. Let's move on let's go to Minnesota. Hold on. We get Ken on with us. Someone's got a battle.
Yes, Mr. Farron.
Yes, Ken, go ahead.
Okay, I'm next. Okay. Yeah, we remember in the past the big talk of the JWs that you go by our rules and all that, and I'll tell you what, if you don't go by our rules and you commit certain acts, you're going to be thrown out. And remember also how they used to brag about, well, our religion is increasing because we have the truth, but the other religions are decreasing, and so forth. Well, now who's talking, Now take a look and see what the facts is. They're decreasing right down to the, right down to the end and so forth, and they're not as tough as they used to be and all that because their rules and regulations are falling apart. And just like the organization is falling apart. So I guess that goes to show you that, that you don't want to be, you shouldn't be too big for your britches ever, so to speak. So, well, what can you expect? And what can you expect us to say and all that after all the new revelations have come through?
Well, Ken, that's an excellent answer. I like when you started out, you said that, they were the ones that were always, we got the truth. Look at the people. Look at Jehovah. He's speeding up the charity. He's bringing people in. What do they say now? You can't have it both ways. You got to acknowledge it. At some point, I really think it would do the governing body justice by at least acknowledging it. Now, some of the witnesses have actually taken it upon themselves to make excuses why there's empty seats. Now, I told you about this the last couple of weeks. Are you ready? Put your seatbelt on because this is going to really floor you, seriously. So I've been hearing, well, in one particular convention, I believe it was out in Missouri, and the brother was leaving the convention, and the elder at the door said, boy, wouldn't it have been nice, brother, if we got more people here? And the brother said, yeah, we a lot of empty seats. And the elder said, yeah, but most of them are home on Zoom. Well, that's a lie, too. They're just saying whatever they can. Now, here's the one that really got me. I don't know who would ever believe it, but evidently there is some believing it. So with all of the empty seats at the convention, one woman, I got information coming in here to the 6 screens, one woman said, isn't it a blessing that we have all these empty seats? We can find the seats. Jehovah's really helping us and helping us to be comfortable, and we're not so crowded. Can you believe that? Man, I'm telling you, how does the Watchtower get away with this? But they do. It's crazy. Eric, did you want to come in? Eric down there in Tennessee, did you want to come in and say something, Eric? You're on with us?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what do you think if they do get rid of the conventions? This is my opinion, but I'm curious if anyone else has any thoughts. My opinion is how they would spin it is say, we're at the end of the system of things and time's getting tough, and we just wanted to make things easier on you guys. Maybe we'll just have assemblies or whatever, but no more conventions. And then they'll throw some scripture out there, whatever, to tie. It's the same old trick that they do over and over and over again, or something like that. Right? I can picture it.
Oh, I'll tell you, you read my mind. That's exactly, Eric. That's exactly what they would say. You know, they tried to pull that same scam when they got rid of the book study. And we all remember that. We had the book study, but it was brought out that because of the high prices of gasoline, the governing body was concerned about the publishers and the gas price and putting gas in their car. So they figured they would get rid. I say get rid of. They would delete the book study and make it, part of the meeting that they had during the week. But that's a terrible excuse. But they'll use an excuse like that again. They'll say, well, you know what the hotel costs? And I will have to agree with them. Have you checked the hotel costs lately? They're not, I used to just 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was on the road, I'd look for a hotel, motel I could stay at for like, $39, $49. That's done away with. The cheapest motel chain. Let's go with the Motel 6. My goodness, that's like $130 to $150 a night. A little upscale hotel today, a little like a Marriott or a Hilton. Yeah, you're talking close to $300 to even get a room. So it's got to be taxing on the witnesses. Really, they have to travel and stay in one of these places. They could go through $1,000 easy for the 3 days and eating out, and even that's expensive. So, maybe the governing body they could use that. Maybe a beautiful excuse. Eric, you ought to be in crisis control at the Watchtower. You can help them.
Crisis control. Hey, I tell you what. Instead of GG for GB, I'll run against him, and I'll be the Donald Trump version. And let me tell you, GG, he's a great guy, but he gets some things wrong sometimes. We're gonna come in and we're gonna shut Watchtower down. We're gonna distribute all the funds to all the victims. We're going to build a wall around Watchtower and let the Bethelites all be in love with themselves. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Donald. Thank you. All right. Well, that's our good friend, Eric. Friends, I have to tell you, you're all out there listening. I wish we could all be together. And we will be in 2025 some point. But, you guys are sitting there. I don't want you to think for 1 second. Don't think for 1 second that people aren't seeing through the nastiness of this religion. They're seeing through it. It's unbelievable. All right, let's take a look over here. Let's see what else is going on. All right, Ken, did you want to say something else?
Oh yeah. Glad you got me back again. Thank you for that. I just want to let you know that up here in the Upper Peninsula and all that, in the 70s and all that, when they were coming over to my place and all that, they were worried. The gas was around 69 to 75 cents a gallon at the time. They were worried about the gas going up to $1 a gallon, and they all said that they wouldn't be able to afford to go door to door if the gas went up to $1 a gallon. So, and I got another question right here. God was behind that organization so much. How come so much money was needed involved? How come so much money was needed to promote the organization? It doesn't sound right to me.
Well, Ken, nothing sounds right in the Watchtower to any of us. But thank you, Ken. Always good to hear from you from Michigan.
Rick, I wanted to add something.
Yes, King of Dots. Love to hear from you.
And this is a prophecy that seems to have flown under the radar, but it was really big in the late 70s, early 80s. The waters of Babylon would dry up. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The religions of the world, the churches were losing memberships dramatically. And I can honestly tell you, I sent Gilbert pictures of churches in my area. They're full to the gills, literally hundreds of cars. That has absolutely not happened, and Watchtower has not addressed it. In fact, the Catholic Church is up to 1.2 billion people now. When are the waters of Babylon going to dry up? And yet, in reality, like the past caller said a few minutes ago, it's Watchtower that's drying up. Now, I don't believe they're Babylon the Great. I think the United States is Babylon the Great. I will state that to anybody, and I will prove it, because in the Bible, it indicates everything that sounds like the United States. The pharmaceutical, spiritistic practices. This is the drug capital of the world. 70% of all the heroin and whatever is used in this country. And we're putting our pharmaceutical practices all over the rest of the earth with Pfizer and who knows what else with their vaccine. But at the same time, it's a major fail. Babylon the Great's waters did not dry up. They believed it was false religion, and no one's holding them to account for that. I certainly hope some Bethelite with 2 brain cells is listening to this and check out what they've taught consistently for 100 years. But it didn't happen. And at this point, it's never going to happen. Islam's like 1.4 billion people. When are these waters going to start drying up? And in 100, 200 years, that'll be the end of Watchtower. They're gone at that point. They can't stand 10 more years of no problem.
I rather doubt if they'll even be around 10 years. You're absolutely right. They are in a free fall. You know it, King of Dots. We all know it. They can't go on. I mean, they're just.
Well, you better be around in 10 years, or else, man.
Well,
don't make me come up there, man.
All right. Well, we hope you can get up here for the convention. See what happens. All right. Thank you, King of Dots. John, did you want to come on? John, were you on there with us? I don't want to use your last name, but I saw you on there. If you want to come in, John, now's the time to do it. Or anybody. No, just want to, let us all cuddle around here in a huddle. Let's just talk about this for a second.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, John. Yeah, go ahead. What do you want to say, John?
No, I was just thinking that I think they are going to get rid of the conventions, but I think everything is going to be on Zoom. I just think everything's going to be on Zoom.
Yeah, well, of course, the Zoom worked for them during COVID. The overseers are trying to get people back in person. It's not working, but even the Zoom is nothing but subterfuge. The witnesses, they appear to be on there, but they put it on automatic pilot and go about their business, making people think they're listening in. Did you agree with this, John? Do you believe the Watchtower is dead? It just hasn't fallen over yet.
I believe they're it's like a time bomb. They're about to explode. I don't see how they can keep. How long can you keep saying new light, new light, new light? You can't do that. I mean, after a while, people are gonna get so fed up.
Well, the only thing I can think of, see, in the real world, you've been around for a while, John. I think you're about my age. I won't tell people how old you are, but I know you've been around a while. I can just tell by the way you talk. And people listening to the program, you've been around for a while. And we got to, it's not that we ever figured the whole world out, but I think we're starting to figure out Watchtower. I think we're really starting to put pieces of the puzzle together. It's one thing to believe something that's sensible and logical, but it's another thing not to believe something that's illogical and doesn't make sense from a human standpoint. I mean, and the Watchtower itself has actually given us that little saying. They're telling you to believe everything they say, even though it's not sensible from a human standpoint. So come on. They almost, at times I think the Watchtower thinks that they're dealing with absent-minded people. Now, I know a lot of people, when they go to the Kingdom Hall, they check their brains out at the door. But, not everybody does. There are people that are sharp enough, like this audience, that is wiggling their way loose. They can see it. And it's only a matter of time more and more people will be doing that. And I'm going to tell you something. Maybe you have a lot of relatives and friends. Like I have a daughter that will not talk to me. My wife has a couple of daughters that won't talk to her. And you guys have that too. It's going to change very shortly. A lot of our relatives and friends will be waking up. Go ahead, 602. You're on with us. What do you have to say?
Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, I like to think differently, right? I'm trying to think on the outside of the box. There's an old saying that says, you underestimate the power of the dark side. And Rick, I think you underestimate the power of the Watchtower. Because think about it. Just it's great. Imagine having a religion, being an owner of a religion, where I can charge $10 a month and you can have Jesus Christ, and for $20 a month you can have Jesus Christ and Jehovah and be called an elder, and you get all that for $20 a month. This sounds like a Ron Popeil infomercial, but this is where it's at. The Jehovah's Witnesses are so dumbed down. You know, okay, let's say they have 1 million members in the United States. That's $10 million, $20 million a month that they can get on the subscription service. You know, and they're already doing it, and they already have the infrastructure in place. They have a very powerful website, and all they need to do is make it interactive and charge money. I mean, get rid of the religion. Just get rid of the religion idea and everything. It's a cash cow, and that's why I say don't underestimate the power of the dark side. And the last thing, to talk about King Adas with the Babylon the Great. If Watchtower was wrong about everything, they're wrong about birthdays, they're wrong about going to college, they're wrong about every subject under the sun. You mean to tell me that you believe that you know, those of you that are listening, that that's whatever Watchtower teaches, it's all a lie or half truth. So don't believe anything they say. But Rick, just going back to that question, it's a cash cow. I really think so. And maybe they won't go back to their former glory. Maybe they'll take a hiatus for 5 or 10 years, but they can always reinvent themselves. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But
they're uglier and more dangerous than we think. Gilbert, it's always so good to hear from you. I love to hear from you. Thank you for calling in. Thank you. All right. So anyways, let me take a check here, see what else is going on. We got a lot of people coming through here tonight. We want to thank you for coming in. Yeah, it amazes me. We have so many people that are coming in during the summer months. I mean, usually they're on vacation, they're out at the campgrounds. But boy, we have got a rocking awesome time here the last couple of weeks. A lot of people have been coming into the 6 screens. We appreciate your presence. Friends, did you hear about, well, I told you 2 weeks ago, or was it last week? Yeah, it was last week that our good friend Atlantis died. No, don't let it come as a show. No, I'm sorry, he didn't die yet. I'm sorry. I mispresented myself there. He did not die. He's dying, though. That is a sad thing. Atlantis was the insider at Watchtower that was giving us information on these announcements and reminders. And, well, you guys liked it, and I liked it. And you know what the announcement and reminders are all about, right? When we went to the Kingdom Hall, remember, every week they would read announcements and reminders, and all of us witnesses would have our ears open to hear what was going to be said. Well, Atlantis had an insider. I won't say where, who, whatever, but he did share it with me. But I can't say because I don't want to get the brother in trouble. But this brother was giving Atlantis information before the witnesses even got it. Then he would send it to me, but not only me. He gave it to other apostates too. Like he gave it to, for example, Kim and Mikey and others. So it wasn't, but he liked the 6 screens. Now, let me tell you, I mentioned to you, Atlantis got into some serious health issues. Somehow he has some type of a cancer that he got in his liver, and then somehow the liver, I'm not using the right medical terms here, but it exploded, or somehow it sent blood up to the brain, and it made him brain dead. Poor Atlantis, he's brain dead. You want to pray for him, and he's in almost like a coma. And he can't speak. He doesn't remember anybody. He doesn't know anything. So we hope Atlantis is good. But the point I wanted to make is this week we did receive some information. Evidently, the people, the insider they was getting the announcements from is going to keep up the good work that Atlantis was sharing with us. So I did get some announcements and reminders this week, and whoever sent them, I want to thank you very much. I don't know who it is. Maybe they'll come forward and say. But anyways, let me give you the announcements and the reminders that this Watchtower insider. Well, there's a resolution. Now we all know this. In fact, I'm going to throw this out for anybody. If you just want to speak up and tell me when. When does the Jehovah's Witness service year end? Does anybody know that? When does the Jehovah's service year end? All right. Okay. Well, I'll tell you when it ends. August. This is the last month of the service year. So September starts a new one. So they have some announcements. I guess they'll be reading. I think in September, maybe the latter part of August here. I'm not sure. But there's a resolution. Oh, don't you love the Jehovah's Witness resolutions? And, an elder will stand up there. And I'll tell you what the resolution is going to be. They're going to up the ante. They need more money. Now, Gilbert was just talking about the cash cow. They need more money. Now, from what I understand, this is very similar to tithing, even though the witnesses would never go that far and call it tithing. But they're going to make this announcement, whether it's going to be, this week or the first part of September, I'm not sure. But anyways, the announcement is going to read, they're going to make a resolution that they're going to try to get all the brothers and sisters that they've been doing right along. This is nothing new, friends. This is nothing new. They've been asking the brothers and sisters to kind of pledge, to kind of suggest to the Watchtower how much money they can give every month. And so they'll give you a piece of paper, and the family head will write down, but they want to know from everybody, not just the family head. They want to know from his wife and even his kids how much money they'll be giving. So the family head will write down, well, we're all going to give you $5 a month. I got 4 kids in the family and my wife and I. So that's going to amount to like $30 maybe. So they're going to try to work it out that way. They want to know how much money per publisher are we going to get in, and then going to pass a resolution. And those phony baloney resolutions. Oh my goodness. That is the worst form of getting people to comply in an undecent fashion. Let me put it that way to you. Who's going to raise their hand? You remember that, right? So the brother's going to stand on the platform. Okay, brothers and sisters, this is our announcement for the month. We want to pass a resolution here tonight to see if everyone can give $10 a month or whatever it would be. And if there's anyone opposed to this, please let us know. Who is going to oppose? Nobody does. Come on. I mean, didn't you think that was phony when you used to hear that? I did. I said, that's no way to really get a general consensus. People could not even voice their own feelings on the matter. And who would? That you'd be ostracized. That you'd be looked down upon. Oh, Brother Farron, why did you oppose that? That's not a real resolution. That's a phony baloney resolution. So anyways, I wanted to bring that up. So they're trying to get more money. Some people have been saying it's like tithing. It's really not tithing. This has been going on, right? I suppose it's synonymous. It could be equal to tithing, but this has been going on now for quite a while, and we're going to see what comes about from this. The witnesses are going to have to divvy up, pony up, as they say, and put more money in each month. So, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So anyways, we're glad you're with us tonight. My name's Rick Farron. I'm here at the Six Screens Telenetwork up here in Boston, Mass. And I'm glad that we have so many people coming in on this warm summer night. Of course, it's been nice up here. It's been really nice the last month or so. So let's take a look and see what else is going on, as we say, behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Have you guys been noticing brothers, elders, ministerial servants? Have you been hearing, because I know you probably don't go to the hall, but it's probably a lot of PMOs listening in. But have you been noticing how many brothers have been guarding the Kingdom Hall doors? Oh, this is unbelievable. It's just multiplying like crazy. And this I noticed when we went and protested at the convention. They had like 6 brothers guarding the doors of people coming in. There's got to be a reason for this. The Watchtower is going to be very afraid that maybe apostates are going to come in and take the stage over, or maybe they're going to come in and take pictures. They're scared to death of the apostates. So they're asking people coming through the doors, not only at the conventions, but they're doing it big time even at the local Kingdom Halls. Now, the brothers are guarding the Kingdom Hall doors, and the reports coming in here to the 6 screens is they're getting very aggressive. Excuse me. So they're getting very aggressive, and they're demanding that you talk to them. Now, I can say this happened at the convention 3 weeks ago when we were protesting up here in Lowell, Massachusetts. We sent 2, supposedly Jehovah's Witnesses incognito in to take pictures, and they were questioned as they were going through the door. And, they wanted to know who they were and what have you. Not as much this year as last year, because this year we sent a man and a woman in. Last year, though, one of the people was questioned so much: where you from, why you here, who invited you here. So they're asking all kinds of questions. Now, this is even happening at the local levels, and the elders or the ministerial servants, in most cases, who are guarding the doors at the Kingdom Halls, they're demanding, I'm going to underline the word demanding, that you talk to them. You have to shake their hands, and you have to embrace them. Yes, you will see this. And even women, these elders or ministerial servants, door guards, or whatever you want to call them, they're actually hugging women. I mean, big hugs. I don't just mean a little, quick little hug. I mean a big hug, like you haven't seen a person for 50 years. Now, is this a good thing to do? Well, it's starting to create some issues. Man, many of the sisters are getting a little bit concerned about the way the brothers are greeting people. As a matter of fact, in some instances, some of these door guards have actually had mental health issues. They've actually had a history of alcohol and drug abuse, and they got them guarding the doors for people coming in and giving the women big hugs. Now, what we have here is information coming in here that some of the wives or the brothers who are the door guards, they're absolutely upset to see their husbands hugging all of these women. Well, wouldn't you be upset too if you've seen your wife go in the hall and all of a sudden one of the brothers really embraces her? I mean, embraces. I don't mean a quick little hug here. I mean an embrace. This is absolutely something I'm saying right now. The Watchtower has got to address this. I mean, given the stand on sexual abuse in the Watchtower, this is very, very unpleasant. This is very unpleasant for sisters and even brothers. I don't want to be hugged. They're even hugging brothers. This is out of control. Now, some congregations, and thank goodness, they're telling the brothers to keep their hands off the sisters who aren't their wives and to stop hugging them. This is really becoming a pandemic. This is not just a 1 or 2 event happening here. This is happening all over. So it's causing everyone to really feel very comfortable. Now, I want to bring this out. Now, in the past, someone who might be 80 years old or older, a grandma or a widow, they come to the hall and you get a little hug. Well, that'll be okay. That'll be all right. But I mean, when you got, young women, teenage girls coming in, and you got greeters at the door. I mean, since when do greeters? I mean, Walmart has greeters. You get a big hug from them. They won't touch you with a 10-foot pole. But the witnesses, with all of the sexual abuse, all of the accusations that's going on in the witness world, do they need this? I mean, now there's even starting to be local needs talks about it. So I'm really thinking here, friends, the Watchtower is losing it. I kind of even saw it I've been out now for 16 years. But I have to tell you something. I have even seen it. I'm sorry, more than 16 years. About 16, I guess. But I've been out, and I can really remember even back then. I remember, brothers hugging my wife as she'd come through the door. I thought it was it bothered me a little bit. It really did bother me. So I don't know if anyone else has noticed this or not, but this is a practice that really has to be put to bed. This is something that's got to stop. And, it's irritating the brothers and sisters. What do you think? Do you think sometimes your brothers would hug you and be a little overly close, a little overly touchy? Maybe not. Maybe you don't feel that. But I know one thing. It's happening, and it's happening more. Well, let's hear from Angela. Go ahead, Angela.
Hey, it's Dan, Rick.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, it just sounds like more strange stuff going on in there, you know. It'd probably be a position I would apply for if I was a brother, you know. If you needed greeters at the door, you'd say, hey, you get to hug all the sisters. You know, it's kind of like a bonus, but it's like you say, Rick, it's freaky for a church. You know, hugs are really intimate, and people really don't know how to hug properly. You know, and like a young brother, he's just going to manhandle a girl. You know, he's not going to respectfully hug her, like give her a shoulder or give her an over the top. You know, he's not going to push his chest up against her chest. You know, he's going to be respectful, but there's no training in there. You got a bunch of things you're told never to masturbate, never to hold a girl's hand, and now you get to do a full body hug on a sister. That's an accident waiting to happen. I'd be worried about my wife too. And you start thinking, you know, that's quite a long hug. You know, I think he could have just gave her a little snug, but he really held her there for a while, you know? I mean, there's just insanity, Rick. It's more insanity, more crazy shit going on in the Watchtower. You know, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I was thinking, Dan, that, you know, a gentleman, even if they were ever to hug a woman, whether she be 50, 70, 80 years old, 30 years old, you would always be very careful to not let the woman's chest touch yours. But from what I get here, and people have been giving me information here at the 6 screens, these brothers are really, I mean, pulling the woman right to them and pressing her chest and pushing her chest right against theirs, you know?
Yeah, even another man's wife, if a woman wanted to hug, you know, maybe out of the respect for the man, I know I would just shake her hand. I would just reach out and say, hey, good morning, sister. I wouldn't need to give her a full body hug, you know, but I think unless she was really hot, you know, I'd throw the hell with it all. I've been wanting to hug her for 2 years, you know, but truthfully, Rick, this shouldn't go on in churches. I think it should be respectful. It should be hold the door for them. Good morning, sister. Good morning, brother. Even hands, Rick, transfer a lot of germs. You know, I had a buddy who had a lot of hand allergies, and around wintertime, we just knuckle bumped. And so, you know, it's just kind of dirty. I mean, you've seen a lot of the elders just grab their nose and scratch your ass, you know, and then they want to shake your hand. You know what I mean? We used to watch a guy do that. We'd call him scratch and sniff. He ain't shaking my hand. You know what I mean? So we gotta, it's just, you know, it's more Stupidville. It's like the Karch, Rick. Those guys aren't preaching anymore. They are not preaching. They're just sitting out on the sidewalk. I mean, you don't bring in disciples if you can't talk to people. And you know why I feel, you know, a lot of people got mad at me because I approached those Hispanic sisters. They're like, oh, that was being a bully. That was being a this. But I'm like, you know what? You're not telling me about your faith. If you're out on the street, you could answer a few questions. You know, you don't tell me to leave. You know what I mean? It's not your street. If you're out here preaching, and see, they're not preaching Jehovah anymore. They're preaching org. They're preaching JW.org. There's not one, Rick, I've hit 3 people. Every one of them says, go to the org, go to the org, go to the org. And this is strange, Rick. This is a strange synchronicity. I want you to think about it. Do you know where you go to be taught in Scientology? You go into the org. That's where you go for all the brainwashing, all the auditing. You go into the org. And the Mormons, one time we visited and we said, where do you go? Where are they all going after the service? It's like this thing's been going on for hours. They said, oh, they're going back into the org. And I just think it's kind of synchronistic. I know it's not exactly the same, but it is in a way. Go to org. You know, I know it's jw.org, but org is the teaching place. Org is the teaching place for the Mormons, and the org is the teaching place for Scientology. Isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah, right. I never caught that, but no, thank you for sharing that. That's kind of coincidental. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe, and I wanted to say, Rick, they're going down. Like I said, I know I said it on the last show, but there was 1,600 people. I don't know how they could pay for the auditorium. I mean, there was a Spanish group that came in after. but it's not that big here. But Rick, 1,600 people. I mean, that was half. That was half of what was last year, because I thought last year was really small at 3,500, but then this year 6,500, tiny stadium. Rick, I really think the people after a while are going to look at themselves. I mean, the few that's left and say, where the hell did everyone leave? I think the lights are going to come on at some point, and they're going to look around and say, God, we're the only ones left. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the last one in there. Would you, Rick?
No.
Would you want to be the last one in there? Like you say, the last one in there. Would you want to be the only one, like you and five brothers, and nobody else standing firm and think? You'd have to start thinking, where is everybody? What's going on? What happened? At some point they're going to wake up, Rick.
Well, Dan, I think that's already happening. It's, what the elders are doing too. Some information I got here recently is there's so many people leaving right now that the elders really can't say and emphasize the fact that they are, because the first thing a publisher is going to say to an elder is, why did they leave? Now, the elder doesn't want to be put on the spot, but people they're leaving because of apostasy. They're finding out this is not the truth anymore, but they can't level and tell that to the other witnesses, because, that's going to create a curiosity, and the witnesses will start wondering, because I know even myself, when I left, I was disfellowship for apostasy, but they really didn't want the congregation to know that. They wanted the congregation basically to think I moved away, because I ran into a sister in the market basket up here that I go to. Oh, where you been, Brother Farron? And this is when I was just fellowship back in 2005. She said, where you been, Brother Farron? We haven't seen you. I heard you moved to another congregation. I should have moved to another congregation. I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. So they'll
Wow.
oh yeah, they'll
I bet you're right, Rick. I bet they're not advertising that, because the assembly, they didn't make a big deal. I mean, they did read the number, which I was surprised, but you can't really hide the numbers. Before they were inflating the numbers. You remember that guy? I forget. I think they fired him already, but he was inflating all the numbers and saying we have double the growth, triple the growth. We've had, we quadrupled during, the pandemic, and, all this stuff. And I don't know, Rick, you're right. I think they're not advertising it. They've gone dark. They call that masonry gone dark, where they don't say nothing. They just, let it be. But I think, Rick, I have a feeling they can hardly wait for the next pandemic to break out. They've got half the people there now, so it would be nice for them, I'm sure, to sell another third of the Kingdom Halls.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan. I mean, I think you're right on track, Dan. It's always so good to hear from you.
Yeah,
I mean that you make a difference whenever you. I'll tell you what, when you come on, the numbers go up. I'm looking at this. When you come on and talk, our viewer list goes up. Keep up the good work. You're good. You're good for the 6 screens. Thank you, Dan.
Right,
Thank you.
Right. You're good to us.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Okay, so do we have Newcastle? Does Newcastle, I think it's Delaware. Did you want to come on, Newcastle? Come on if you want to, if you're still listening. Yes, go ahead. You're on with us. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, hi, it's Aaron. I don't want to be too long on this or stray too far off the topic, but I had a really good experience on my Lyft rides this week. I met a lady that was, her name was Christine, we had a really nice conversation. And throughout the conversation, it came up that she was studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I started saying things, to make her think. And she was like, man, you really know an awful lot about, this organization. And, and everything you're saying sounds really interesting. And she says, by the end of the conversation, she says, I'm just really confused now. So I really feel like at this point, well, first of all, she said she had been in and out of the organization since she was 13, but she never got baptized. And I said, well, that's, in my opinion, that's a very good thing that you never took the plunge, because once you do, and if you decide that it's not, you want to start questioning the governing body, and that's the point that I made the most, was that once you start questioning the governing body, even if you're saying something is scriptural, you believe it's scriptural, and what they're saying is not, then, they're going to disfellowship you. So it was a really good conversation. And at the end of the ride, I told her, about the 6 screens. I said Rick Farron YouTube channel, and then I also gave her the website avoidjw.org, so she can have some information. So I hope she's listening tonight. I don't know if she is, but it would be nice. So I just thought that was maybe it was God that even send me there to her to help wake her up. I don't know. I mean, but I just thought it was really crazy and funny that I would meet someone randomly like that.
Well, my wife always says there's no such thing as a coincidence. And I have to tell you, thank you. Thank you for trying to get the word out. And, that could help that woman. Just stop and think about it. When you can really help a person, you feel good about it. You save a person's life, or somehow you really helped a person in their walk in life. You could have helped that woman more than you ever could believe, Aaron. Thank you for doing that. That's a good deed you did. Good man. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, that's Aaron. Well, you are on the 6 screens, JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower does not want us talking about. But we talk about it every Saturday and every other Sunday. Not tomorrow, though. Tomorrow is not a 6-screen Sunday day. Boy, I have to tell you, things are really happening. Let's bring 315. I think that's Eric. Come on back on, Eric.
Hi, Rick. It's Joe and Fran.
Oh, hi, Joe and Fran.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good tonight. Really good.
Yeah, you're sounding good. Good to hear the program. We just wanted to share some really encouraging information. Joe and I, we organized a meetup, and it was right in New York State in the Finger Lakes, Seneca Lake, and we had 35 people show up, and it was amazing.
Wow, I know what that is, and boy, oh boy, you guys are starting to get a lot of apostates up there.
Well, actually, some of them traveled. Actually, there was one from Florida. He lives in Florida now. They were from Scranton, Pennsylvania, on the border of New York and Pennsylvania, Rochester, Albany. They were from all over. Of course, our area, Utica, and people traveled. We were going to have an outdoor picnic, but then the weather looked like it was going to rain. So last minute, we got a restaurant. They gave us a back room. We had the most fantastic waitress. And I told her a little bit about, who the people are and what we're doing. So she was very accommodating. But the friends, just the expressions the friends gave, they just said that this is so healing. This is just, they all coming together. So when you're mentioning so many are leaving, we totally agree with that. And not only are they leaving, but they're glad to leave and happy, smiling faces. Yes, they're going through difficulties, but we're just so glad to all connect. And we're a support here for others that are leaving. So any listeners, maybe there's new listeners on now that are afraid. I know when we first came on, we thought, oh dear, we can't go on Rick Farron, the apostate capital of the world. Our children are going to hear us. No, they don't hear us. They don't come on these programs. But if you're out there, don't hesitate to contact us or Rick or anyone, because we're here for you. It's a big, large community, and we're all here to support each other.
Well, that is a great thought that you brought up here tonight, and all those people getting together. Listen, I want you guys to give yourself a pat on the back too. That is, well, no, seriously, Fran, you guys have been really initiators in getting people to meet together, ex-witnesses, and it's working. Your set of blueprints has been working for you. So keep up the good work. We're all proud of you here at the 6 screens, and the rest of the ex-witness world too. They love you guys. Don't you ever change, as we say. Keep doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is working. Keep up the good work.
Well, you too, Rick. You're a good example for all of us. And also there was a meetup in Asheville, North Carolina, that was a success. So there's meetups all over. And if anyone wants to meet up, all you have to do is reach out. And even if it's 2 or 3 people, you don't have to have 35. So anyway, just wanted to share that.
Yeah, and if anyone wants Joe and Fran's email, you can email me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'll put you in touch. I'll give them the telephone number too, if you don't mind, Fran.
Oh, not at all. Anytime, Rick.
And I'll give you Fran and Joe's email and telephone number. You can meet up with them, and those guys are just unbelievable. I don't know where they get the energy. They've traveled all across the country. I tell you, I was thinking about that. The other day. I'm saying, man, those guys, they had a lot of guts. You know, at your age, as you're getting older, I remember I made a cross-country trip when I was about 30, 35. But, geez, I'm telling you, when you get into your 60s and 70s, that is a chore. That's not easy. Good for you guys.
Well, like we told you, Rick, we take naps. So,
Jeez, I don't know how you did it, but boy, you did it. Well, that was an achievement and a half, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Washington D.C. on September 13th.
Yeah, I'm trying to get down there. I might not be able to make it. I'm still putting some pieces of the puzzle together. But anyways, I'm hoping that can all work out well. Yeah, is something that came up here that I got to probably address. So
Sure, we understand.
yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. Well,
All
listen,
right.
you guys be good, and we'll be
Thank
seeing you
you.
again. Don't be strangers. Thank you.
No, we won't.
All righty.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there you go. That's Fran and Joe. Oh, what an amazing couple. I mean, really, if you guys had those guys, they really put forth an effort. Fran is unbelievable. Joe too, but Fran, she ought to be working for the government. Maybe to get something done. I mean, seriously, when she goes to work, she accomplishes what she sets out to do. Good for both of them. We appreciate them. All right, you're on the Six Screens Telenetwork. What do you think? Do you think the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be around a few years? Who knows? But we'll see. But anyways, another subject that I want to bring up here tonight, very interesting subject. We've talked about it sometime in the past, but it keeps popping up here. And I wanted to mention this tonight. It's been all over Reddit and some of the forums you see online. But lately, there seems to be many Jehovah's Witnesses in what they call an age-gapped marriage. You say, well, what is that? An age-gapped marriage. It means that, one mate is very much older than the other mate. And then this happens in the Jehovah's Witness world more than you think. And it starts right at the very top. In fact, I never really thought much about it. But Jeffrey Jackson, of course, he's a governing body member at the Watchtower. And there's a 27-year-old age gap between him and his wife. Did you know that? I didn't know it. In fact, it was very interesting to see that. A 27-year gap. And I wonder how, in fact, sometimes I think this is why the Watchtower really doesn't talk much about it. They stay silent on these large age gap marriages. They don't really talk much about it. I mean, really, you guys, if you've been involved with the Witnesses for years, as I was for 50 years, I never read articles in the Watchtower, any of the publications about, it might be best to marry somewhere around your own age group. But no, I never read anything about it. And I'm finding governing body members here. I guess Jeffrey Jackson, he was 57 years old, and he married a woman that was 30 years old, a witness woman. So we got 27 years in the Watchtower. I mean, they don't, I'm sure people, did someone talk to Jeffrey and say, Jeffrey, she's kind of young for you? I don't, sometimes that doesn't happen in the witness world. Sometimes they kind of encourage these things. It's kind of ridiculous, but they were both working. From what I can see here, there was an article written about Jeffrey Jackson in Watchtower publication that I went through. And so evidently Jeffrey Jackson and this wife, they were working at the branch office, the same branch office at the same time. Now, the girl's name is Lorani. It looks like Lorraine, but there's an I after it. So I'm saying Lorani. I never heard of that name. But anyways, Jeffrey Jackson met Lorani while she worked with Jenny. Now, Jenny would have been Jeffrey Jackson's first wife, and they worked at the Fiji Bethel from 1996 to 2003. This is the information I got from the Watchtower. But to put things in perspective here, in 2003, Jeffrey Jackson's life story was actually brought out, and it says that he was transferred to New York. Of course, at the time, it would have been Brooklyn. So Jeffrey Jackson and Lonnie, they came to Brooklyn. And, eventually, in fact, in 2009, actually, Jeffrey didn't come with his new wife. He came with his old wife, Jenny. And in 2009, she passed away. And then Jeffrey went and married this woman that he met at the Fiji Bethel home. They used to work with his former wife, Jenny, and they got married in 2013, if you care about it. But the point I'm trying to make about it is, there's quite a bit of age gap. They're 27 years old. I mean, there's marriages that can be successful. I'm not picking on anybody if their husband or their wife is older, but it's unusual. 27 years, when you stop and think about it, you could actually be their father. So, but the whole thing in the Watchtower, I believe, and I might be wrong with this, but I believe many of their wives, the governing body members and officials of the Watchtower, I believe their wives are chosen for them. I just, I hate to say this. I don't mean it when I say it, but I'm going to say it. The sisters are young and dumb, and they think it's a privilege. They think it's a privilege to marry a mature, spiritual-minded man, whether it be a governing body member or district overseer, whatever. Even if the sister is really young, well, she thinks it's a privilege to marry one of these officials. I think it's dumb. I mean, I don't mind saying it. And then I also got information here as I did some research. Jeffrey Jackson was not the only one that married a younger woman, Daniel Sidlick. Well, let me tell you about Daniel Sidlick. A lot of people on here, they know about Daniel Sidlick. They met him. He's, was a popular governing body man. He's dead now. But Daniel Sidlick, he was born in 1919, and he married Marina. He married a woman named Marina. She was born in 1946. Well, she was only 2 years older than me. So he married her in 1970. So if I'm correct, again, we have a big difference. Again, 27 years difference from Daniel in his 90s. And then we're hearing all kinds of reports here about circuit overseers in their 50s marrying sisters younger. At least one particular report came into the 6 screens that a 50-year-old circuit overseer married a sister that was 25. Now that's half the age. This is a typical phenomena. It's very unhealthy, and there's many societies where this takes place. Usually these are esoteric secret societies where this takes place. It generally takes place where women are very oppressed. And we know the Watchtower oppresses women. I think you'll agree to that, won't you? High control groups, they do this to women. And they make women, or they want women to be very less dependent on themselves, that they want them to get attracted to a male that might bring some stability into their life. And this happens a lot in the witness world, especially if you're a young pioneer woman and you're looking for a spiritually minded man. So you get attracted to some official of the Watchtower, whether it be an elder, whether it be a circuit overseer, or whatever it would be. You get attracted because you say, wow, he's a spiritually minded man. And that's the only thing that you get attracted to. So now what you got here is you got this sister who could be very young. She marries an overseer of some type because she thinks it's going to bring stability into her life. She'll continue to pioneer, and everything is working out hunky-dory. But when that happens, and I'm sure in your congregation, did you happen to ever have this happen in your congregation? We had this age-gapped marriage. Well, I'll tell you, something very weird happens when that happens in a congregation. We know that Jehovah's Witness congregations are a hotbed of gossip. The people gossip like crazy. They want to know everything about your business, and they will gossip like crazy. So whenever you have an age-gapped marriage, as happens so much in the Jehovah's Witnesses, the witnesses are talking behind your back. I know that is a fact, because when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, there was a woman. Her name was Rose, and she lost her husband. He died. She was 58 years old, and she was out in service, and she met a man, a really nice man, a really, really nice man, and he was 94 years old, and she married him. And the gossip was unbelievable. The gossip just kept coming and coming. What is Rose doing? And then some witnesses would think, oh, it's a wonderful thing. Well, Rose found a husband. Yeah, he's like almost twice her age. So, when you stop and think about it, it's something to talk about, really. It's something that you just can't put on the back shelf and say, okay. But that does happen a lot. It's very weird, and the witnesses will talk behind your back. But I'm getting stories that have come in here about this has happened. And generally, when you marry, sisters, if you're listening out there, when you marry someone who's quite a bit older than you are going to have a very controlling husband. Now, I'm not going to make a blanket statement. I'm not going to say this happens all the time, but the chances of you having a controlling husband, especially if you're really young, could really create some issues in your marriage. As a matter of fact, I did have one. Let me see if I can find this story right here that was sent to me, and it has to do with a marriage the marriage was a young woman, and she married this older man. Let me see if I can find the. I guess she was still a teenager, and he was in his 40s, from what I can see here. And she married him thinking, oh, he's going to bring some stability into my life. He became very controlling, and he treated her just like a child instead of his wife. Now, that can happen if you marry an older person, really, or vice versa. Even if someone married a woman that was older, maybe she could become like the mother, right? So anyways, this young girl got so disgusted. She knew she made a bad move, but, the witnesses sometimes would encourage us to, oh, he's such a spiritually minded man. Go ahead, marry him. Well, this one girl, she landed up broken marriage. She became a stripper. She got into hard drugs. She had many horrifically traumatic experiences, and she's unrecognizable now. It's sad. It's very sad, but this is what high control groups do for you. So, this is what can happen. Now, I want you to think about something else here. What about the other way around? What about where a sister is older than the brothers? Do you know of any couples like that? Well, many do, I'm sure. I knew of one. I knew of this. As a matter of fact, I brought it up here in the 6 screens, right up here in Lowell, Massachusetts. Now, put this one on your pipe and smoke it. How about a woman, a staunch Jehovah's Witness woman, 72 years old, is being romanticized by a 20-year-old Jehovah's Witness man, and they wanted to get married. Now, I know that sounds way over the top. Friends, I'm telling you the truth. This is the truth. And they wanted to get married. Now, I'm glad the elders stepped in, and they said, well, wait a minute, this doesn't look good. A 20-year-old brother marrying a 72-year-old sister? Does that make sense to you? I mean, have you heard of things like this? This is crazy in the Jehovah's Witness world. It's something that, I think people really should get some serious thought about before they would ever do anything like that. That's like throwing your life away. I mean, you could become homeless. You could become emotionally and financially sick over the whole deal. But I guess what it is they want a spiritually mature person. That's what many Jehovah's Witnesses base their marriage on: spiritual maturity. That's it. Oh, he's a spiritual brother. I'll marry him. Oh, she loves Jehovah. I'll marry her. What do you think, Dan? Go ahead.
Yeah, we had a brother like that, Rick. He was, I don't know, I think he was like 47, and the girl was like 17. And I could have swore I heard this old sister go, "What's up?" You know what I mean? It's like Petticoat Junction from that point on. Can you believe he's bald? You know, and she's beautiful. You know, I mean, man, it was the talk of the town. I mean, literally, people freaked out. It was his brother. He thought he was a real intellectual, and he thought he was getting away with it. You know, in the hall, you can get away with anything, but he didn't get away with it. He had every older sister looking at him like, "You freaking pervert. You know, what are you doing with this young girl? Let her grow up. Let her get," you know what I mean? But it is, Rick, it's a freak show. When you see an older man like that marry a young girl that's not even really, I think she graduated early. She was fairly smart, but I think she was a pioneer, and she was like 17 or something, and he was 47, and we all just couldn't, nobody got over it. It's one of those things, Rick, you don't get over. You just go, you know, it's always a question, you know, what the, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not normal.
Well, it's not normal. And, you know, why can't, you know, when I stop and think about all of this, Dan, well, why can't witnesses think logically? Why can't they think logically? And I remember even that sister in our Kingdom Hall when I was a witness, and she was 58, and here she met a man at the door that was 94. And before you know it, he started studying the Bible, and now he wants to become a witness. And I mean, I can remember so many witnesses were for it, but there was some gossiping going on behind their back as well. But I mean, a 94-year-old man, even though he's a nice man, I mean, what future do you have with a 94-year-old man, you know? And you're 58.
Yeah, things stop working at a certain point.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how do we tell somebody like that? How do you tell a 9-year-old guy, you know, things are going to stop working at a certain point? Yeah. Angela had to stop laughing the whole time, but it is a freak show. And it's like, what was I going to say about it? I don't know. I just remember it was such an alarm, and nobody could say nothing to him because he was an elder, and he was just walking around like everyone was okay. But I got to tell you, the women were like hawks. They wanted to pick his eyes out. The older sisters wanted to pick his eyes out. It was like, how dare him? You know what I mean? It was so wrong, you know, Rick. And, you know, I don't know. The sisters got to think, you know, this guy's going to be old. I mean, in another 15 years, you know, when he's 55, 60, it's going to be different. You know, she's going to be 35, and it's I don't know. It's just non-compatibility. But there's no boundaries there. There's no rules. There's no common sense. You know what I mean, Rick?
I know exactly what you mean. Thank you, Dan. I'm just choking a little bit. But anyways, I think it's good comments. But even that man, and I can remember the sister, 58 years old. Her name was Rose, and the man really did love her. I mean, really. And he was a nice man, and he loved his wife. But you know, he would say the prayer. He became a baptized Jehovah's Witness, and he would say the prayer. And I always thought it was kind of amusing to some degree in his prayer. He would always say, "Well, dear Jehovah, may you be with all the poor people, and may you stop jealousy." And you know, I never really heard that in a prayer. He would always say that every time he would pray, and they pray in the Kingdom Hall. So I kind of thinking, is he jealous that, you know, maybe other men would have married her, and he's 90, but he was such a good man. I would never say, hey.
Look over your shoulder.
Jeez. Well,
I hate to say this. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I knew a lot of guys. I knew a lot of guys that were 50 and that were trying to date 18-year-olds. And I always thought there was something wrong with them. I mean, really. I mean, I know that's going to get me in trouble. And I don't want to put everybody in the same bucket, but I got to say, there was, what, Angela? we know people that have to marry these young girls. I think it's a control thing. I think it's, yeah, Rick said that. Angela said you said that. It's some kind of control thing where, you know, I guess I've heard people say they can raise them. They can raise the girls, you know, the older men.
No, I just feel like it's because you guys all know that the end's going to come any time, so they've got to get their fill before the end comes.
Well, they're going to return to their youth.
Or like that old man who was saying, "Oh, please, Lord, hope there not be any jealousy." Like, I'm thinking that he's just saying his family is fuming mad because he's sharing his wealth with this brand new wife who's way too young, and they're super jealous, and so he's like, "Oh, please help this to stop." You know?
The hell of a subject, Rick. I love it. When you said it, I just couldn't stop laughing. I said, I remembered that. I remembered when the young guy, the old guy, the young guy. I remember the talk. I never stopped. It never stopped. The talking never stopped. It was like having a curse on him, you know.
Well, the crazy thing about all of this, Dan, is some of the witnesses were so foolish on this that they would look at the qualifications of a marriage as one strictly being spiritual. Well, he's a spiritual man. He loves Jehovah. He goes out in service. He's getting his 10 hours a month in. In fact, he's even a pioneer. And people would actually get married on the basis of one's spirituality. Now, I know it's good and compatible to have the same spirituality, but, you know, the guy can be a complete ding-dong, but because he believes in Jehovah like you do, you want to marry him? I mean, serious.
Rick, it's true. It is true. My uncle tried to fix me up with a lady that was hanging upside down in a car, pulling out a motor with grease up her arms and no teeth. He said she's a fine sister. I said, I'll wait till I get back to Texas. They don't care who they put you together with. You know, my uncle did tell me one time, I've said it before, they've all got the same movable parts, just marry them. he is a Bethelite. You know, I mean, that's what he said.
Yeah.
They all have the same parts. Who gives a shit? Just marry one. I'm like, Neil, don't say that. That's insanity. But he really thought that I was going to, you know, date that girl that was out there pulling a motor out of his car. I'm like, no, I want a woman with nail polish on, you know, and a you know, a nice skirt. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's just me. You know, maybe somebody else would like that, but it was a freak show, man. And I left a really pretty girl. There was a pretty girl back in Michigan that I really liked, and my uncle saw me she came to a funeral, my brother's funeral, and we all flew down there for it. And my uncle saw me looking at her and saw her looking at me, and she kind of stood next to me at the funeral, and really nice girl, really wanted to marry me, really fell in love with me. And my uncle grabbed my hand and crushed it. He crushed it. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, stupid Bill, right, Rick? What are you doing? You know, why are you crushing my hand? He had hand grips from handling wrenches on cars, and he started to crush my hand. And I said, Neil, let me go. And he goes, I can crush your hands, but Jehovah can kill you. Throw her to the dogs. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He puts me in the car with him. I was supposed to fly back to Texas. He rides me back to Florida, Georgia, in his car, and he's talking to me all night long. And I'm like, what are we talking all night for? You know, you're driving. Let me take a nap. He was pioneering. I had no idea. I wasn't quite in yet. You know what I mean? It's a crazy show. And then when I got there, he says, here's a fine sister. You know, anyway, I wasn't any better. I came back and I did exactly what he said. I just married the first one I met, you know.
Well, Dan, I have to tell you that, you know, we both belong to a strange organization. And, you know, in fact, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, you know, when you first leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, we have different emotional reactions. And when I first left, and I think most people listening in here tonight, when you first leave, you're kind of angry. I'm kind of angry that, you know, I gave them money. I gave them so much of my time. I could have been doing so many other things worthwhile, but I was angry at them. And for probably about 6 months to a year, I had this anger in me about them and how scam artists they were. And it really was conflicting for me. But then as I moved forward, that anger, it turned to frustration. Now, I was frustrated because I found out the truth about this Jehovah's Witness organization, and I would try to tell my friends and relatives, and they wouldn't listen to me. They'd turn a deaf ear, and that frustrated me to the highest order. And then that frustration turned into fascination. I was fascinated. Why is it? How do these people stay in this silly organization? They you can see right through it, but yet people stay in there and they give all their allegiance to it. But now I'm in a different phase, Dan. I think you and Angela are in this new emotional phase, and that is humor. I find this very humorous. I found you laughing there a couple of minutes ago. We laugh at this. It's a joke.
It's like a show now. It's more like a show. It's like watching a crazy Jerry Springer show or something. You know what I mean? It really is when you watch them on there and the things they say, and it really is. And you know, I do some serious videos when I tell people, hey, get the hell out of there. It's time to get out, and it's time to get out now. But you know, I truthfully laugh at a lot of it. I'm like I said, even thinking about the last few people in a hall, when it's all said and done, I just imagine 3 people staring at each other going, you know, are we the only one? Well, you know what I'm saying? It is, Rick. It's kind of funny. It's more like watching a show now as opposed to being so involved in it and, you know, so angry. But you do go through that anger phase that you've been deceived, you've been conned. I don't like what they did to my family, that, you know, my mother went down in there, that the Watchtower stole their mind. I was actually talking to a lady the other day, an older lady, and we talked, and she was a throwaway. And she had left the organization, but she would just sit there by herself, just, you know, just saying, this sucks. They threw me away. I don't know nobody. I'm older. It was horrible. And I think of the bunch of people that have been thrown away by this organization that are just on the sidelines. Now, my mother, nobody visited her in the hospital. She died with nobody. My dad died with nobody. Nobody came and visited him. My brother died with nobody. My younger brother just died a little while back. Nobody visited him. Nobody came over. He's a throwaway. You're just a workhorse until they're done with you, and then you literally are thrown away. And if you've read any other literature or anything, you're really gone then. But anyway, it's absolutely insane, Rick. It really is. Forget what I was going to tell you. I had something else to tell you, but anyway.
Well, Dan, it's always good to hear from you. I love to hear from you. Like I say, when you come in, the numbers go up. The audience loves you. Don't be a stranger now.
I love them too.
I know you do. Well, thank you. You and Angela both. You're both doing a great job out there. Keep up the good work. You're helping a lot of people. That's great. Okay, so you're on JW World News. That's the news, as we always say. The Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday, but not tomorrow. No 6-screen Sunday tomorrow. How about reports? Yes. You know, I want to thank everyone for sending me information here to the 6 screens. It really helps me a lot. You guys help me go through the news. You give me all the latest news articles. Thank you very much for all those. My little Facebook Messenger and emails, the ding, 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 dinging all the time from people. And thank you for doing that. But, you know, something I got this week that reports are coming in here concerning homeless Jehovah's Witnesses living in tents and living in their cars outside, if there's a lot adjacent to a Kingdom Hall, or in some cases actually sleeping in the Kingdom Hall parking lot. Have you heard about this? That this is something that, I mean, this is not just isolated cases, friends. This is something that's happening, and we're getting more reports coming in of witnesses, doesn't have to be ex-witnesses, I mean Jehovah's Witnesses that are living, they're homeless. Friends, what's going on in this country right now? The cost of everything is too expensive. The cost of housing, the cost of food, rent, gasoline, it's way too expensive. So what we got here is a lot of people around the world are kind of, well, what am I going to do? I have to live in my car. Where can I park? You just can't park a car anywhere. The police will come along and tow it. So what you have to do, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you'll kind of park in the Kingdom Hall parking lot, and hopefully, that'll be okay. But it's not all right with a lot of Jehovah's Witness congregations. They don't like it. They're going to tell you to try to get help, and the help is not going to come from them. They're not going to help you at all. They're going to tell you to go to Catholic Charities. They're going to tell you to go to some other organization, governmental organization, that will be able to help you. But, I got a report here of a sister that was living in the lot next to the Kingdom Hall. Some, Kingdom Halls have a lot next to them. And so she was living there, evidently in a tent, and the witnesses saw her there. They go out in service and they could see her there. They did nothing for her. She was an unbaptized sister, but nonetheless, she was attracted to the Jehovah's Witness organization. But to make a long story short, the witnesses evidently didn't pay much attention to her. But one of the witnesses, whose husband was out of it, he no longer was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. She came home from the meeting and said, there's a person who was wanting to be a Jehovah's Witness sleeping in the lot next to us. So, he looked into it and he helped the sister. He brought her in and fed her and took care of her for a while. And then he called the overseer of the congregation and said, hey, look, there's a sister that's sleeping out in the open in the lot next to the Kingdom Hall. So eventually they did try to encourage her. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make here is this is a national epidemic. This is occurring all over the place. And it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses. There's a lot of people that are falling through the cracks. But the point I wanted to make with this particular article that was sent to me, or the information that was sent to me, is it's sad. It's sad because the Watchtower really doesn't do any charity work at all. They really, really don't. They don't put themselves in the other person's position. And there's a lot of witnesses that really need help right now. And I know this is a fact. Jehovah's Witnesses, they never have made much money. They have never been encouraged to go to school, get a higher education. Many of them have very poor jobs. You cannot survive on the wages that a poor job would give you. Now, the reason why I even bring this up is, when I was a witness, the Jehovah's Witness organization could give two hoots of beans about a person that was incapable of supporting themselves or incapable of living a normal life. They did not want people of that caliber. I have firsthand information on this. I can remember that we have an indigent hospital here in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. It's the Tewksbury State Hospital. And this is where they send people that can't afford a hospital. They are indigent people. Am I using the right word? I'm not sure. But anyways, they can't afford a hospital help. So they don't have insurance. They fall through the cracks. So what happens is this Tewksbury Hospital brings these people in at no charge, and the state picks up the bill. And some of these poor people don't have any family. They have no relatives. So we had one of the sisters, one of the pioneer sisters in the congregation I belong to, would go and, witness to the people in this hospital. And she was very successful. And she had some of these people actually come to the meetings, and she would pick them up. And some of the witnesses in the congregation as well would pick them up and bring them to the meeting. And then the circuit overseer, well, he came in and found out about this. He says, "Stop it. We're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to bring these people to the Kingdom Hall. Basically, the state's taking care of them, and it's just not going to do our organization any good by bringing these people." Now, what is that the way that a Christian organization would address this? We're not going to have anything to do with these people. But friends, it doesn't stop there. I can also remember in my area here, there's a poor side of town, like there is in most towns. There's a poor side, right? So we were working in my congregation in the poor side of town. In fact, some people called it Tar Paper Village. Well, it was Tar Paper Village because the people never had enough money to put siding on their house. They just left tar paper on there. So we used to call it Tar Paper Village. But I can remember one time I was working in Tar Paper Village. And in fact, I was having a good time. I was talking to people. The people were responding to me as a witness. They were taking magazines and books. And I'm saying, wow, I'm having a good time here. And then I can remember there was a house that I was going to go to, and it was a broken down old house, tar paper on the side of it. And the elder that I was working with, he said, Brother Ferrin, don't even bother going to that house. We have enough of those people already in the organization. I mean, is that any way for a Christian organization supposedly to speak up and say that? Don't go there. We have enough of these people. See, that's what happens. This organization could care less about poor people, people who have been left behind. It's terrible. Other Christian organizations, well, they do charity work. They help the homeless. They help them to go to food kitchens. They give them information on where they can get help. But what does the Watchtower do? Nothing. So I just wanted to bring that up tonight. As a matter of fact, I was friends with an elder, a really nice elder man. And, you know, there was a young girl in our congregation, and she was only 16 years old. And the young girl got pregnant. She landed up pregnant, and she didn't know what to do. The poor girl, right? She's just a young girl. So she landed up pregnant. She went to the elders. What's going to happen? I'm now pregnant, elders. Well, they just fellowshipped her, and they told, and what they would tell, according to one elder, they told her to go to Catholic Charities for help. I mean, that's it. That's what your multi-billion-dollar organization known as the Watchtower, that's what they tell their people. Go elsewhere for help. Friends, I have to tell you, it's unbelievable. Go ahead, you're on with us. What would you say? Yes, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, hi, Rick. Yeah, just offering a little bit of a different perspective on the viewpoint of witnesses, because I generally hear you and other people say a lot of them aren't well off, and obviously that's true. But I'm just going to offer it from my perspective. In Australia, what I experienced was a lot of witnesses actually are reasonably well-to-do. And if you're struggling financially, they're judgmental, and they'll basically kind of have the opinion that you must be doing something wrong, because the Bible says that if you're, seek the kingdom first, and all the other things will be added to you. So that's kind of the judgmental way they look at it. Like you're doing something wrong. It's your fault. If you were doing the kingdom first, well, then you wouldn't be struggling financially. And also a prevailing attitude is competition materially with the witnesses. That was a big thing. I know personally a few people that would be literally angry if another witness bought a car that was better than theirs, because they kind of always have to be that little bit ahead. And so, yeah, there was a fair bit of, I noticed that a lot of competition, especially with young brothers when they were first leaving school, who would have the most money first, who would have the best cars, who would try to get a house earlier. So yeah, there is a lot of that. And so there's never going to be any help for people that are going to be struggling, because, it's your own fault kind of thing. So yeah, thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Tim. Always good to hear from Tim. You always add a lot to our program. Thank you, Tim from Australia. Appreciate it. Well, I tell you what, we have had a rocking good show here tonight. Lots of people calling in. What we're going to do here next, I think we'll bring the duck down. I don't think anyone said the secret words tonight. We do have an envelope here, a sealed envelope with the secret words in it. We're going to give you guys a chance to call in here tonight and win some prizes. And we'll talk a little bit about that. What we'll do is we'll play the word. Now, what we do, we have a duck here, and the duck will come down, and generally the duck will give you a prize if you say the secret word. But nobody said the secret words tonight, so we're going to give you some clues. We'll play the Jeopardy music, and we don't want anyone to come in before the music stops, or you'll be disqualified. But what I want you to do is keep points. I want you to take the points. So if you win something tonight, jot it down. Say, Rick, I got 2 points, 1 point, whatever you get. Keep track of that, because these points will get you really good prizes. As a matter of fact, we also have a $100 prize. We have T-shirts. We have gift certificates to Starbucks, McDonald's, Burger King. So by all means, let's play the game. So let's play the secret word game. And what we'll do, we'll ask the question, but nobody speak up, please, until the music stops. And then we'll be able to have you answer it. And when you do answer it, if you get it right, you mark down. I want you to go on the honor system. You mark down the points. I'll say you get 1 point, 2 points. You keep the points and then let them accumulate. In the next few months, as they accumulate, you'll be able to get some really nice prizes, T-shirts, hats, mugs. We get some beautiful stuff. So by all means, let's play the game. So let's do this right now. Let's play this. Okay, I'm going to ask the first question, but please, nobody answer until the music stops. So if you're all ready, let's listen to what the question would be. So the question is, Watchtower Farms. Well, we all knew about Watchtower Farms, but they had a particular building on the Watchtower Farms that did something very horrible. I want you to answer the question for me. All right. What was a horrible thing that they did in that building? Who would like to comment? I'll give you some more clues. It didn't have anything to do with vegetation.
Sexual abuse?
No. I'll give you another clue. It had to do with animals.
Water.
All right. What did they call it?
Water.
Sacrifice.
Slaughterhouse. All right. Well, nobody got that. I wanted to hear slaughterhouse. Nobody got slaughterhouse. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next.
Water.
Well, you said slaughter, but I wanted slaughterhouse. I said what building? So,
Oh. Okay.
all right. So you missed it. All right. So let's go to the next one. Okay. Now don't answer until we play the music. What Roman pagan holiday did the Watchtower actually suggest that Christmas came from? Okay, go ahead. Who? Okay, so I think that was that you, Eric? Saturnalia? Dan, okay, Dan, mark down, you got a point. Yeah, I heard you first. I heard you first. Okay, so that's good. Boy, that's good. All right, Saturnalia was it. Okay, let's go to another one, but don't answer till the music stops, okay?
Rick,
Yep, yeah.
Hi, this is Zachary. I just have something to say about that slaughterhouse answer. That was the answer I would have given, but I wasn't on the phone. One time, the Brooklyn brothers, the whole Brooklyn thing, they were invited to go to Wallkill, to the Watchtower Farms, to take a tour of it. And when we were touring in the areas with the animals, everything was like they were, the chickens there, they didn't have a long time to live. Everything was slaughtered, it seemed. And so we were out in the, walking through the dirt, and one of the other brothers from Brooklyn saw this pet cat, and he said, That cat's the only safe thing around here.
Well, Zach,
Back memories.
well, Zachary, he was right, because I'm going to tell you something. I have had a man come on this program in the 6th grades years ago, and his uncle worked in the slaughterhouse where they had to kill the animals. Now that's a very I couldn't do it. I really couldn't. But what they would do is the animals would come by, like they had them in a corral, and then they would walk through the building, and I hate to tell you, but they would hit the animal on the head with a hammer, and that would kill the animal. So there was a brother there that this bothered him. It would bother me. I couldn't do that. Maybe many listening in couldn't do it either. But they used to kind of joke around about it, as they would whack the animal with a hammer and kill the animal. It was terrible. But there was a man that came on. His uncle worked there, and his uncle went insane. His uncle went insane working at the slaughterhouse, and he kept going to the officials of the Watchtower and saying, I can't handle this. This job's too much for me. Well, just do the job and don't worry about it. That was their basic answer. Can you imagine that, Jay?
I need years and years of therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember they were talking about, well, the chickens we keep for this long, and then they're done with this for so many months or weeks, and they told about cows, and they had milking rooms and all that stuff. And when we were out in the dirt somewhere, this cat comes up walking, and it's like a pet cat. And cats can sometimes act like they own everything. And this cat just comes prancing, and the brother says, "That's the safest thing around me."
Yeah. Well, really, after a while, the brothers got hardened by all of this, but I mean, my conscience, I couldn't hit an animal with a hammer, but that's what they would do. All right, let's move on to the thing. Thank you, Zach. Let's move to the next question. Well, my Jehovah's Witness uncle and aunt, well, they met on a Watchtower travel event. Many Jehovah's Witnesses would meet their mates on these travel events. I'm going to play the music. What event would that be? Okay, so what event?
Visiting Bethel.
No, not visiting Bethel. Let's go.
The conventions.
Not conventions. No. I'll give you another clue. There was a lot of blue sea around it.
Traveling to.
Well, sometimes there were very big waves and hurricanes.
Boat cruise.
A cruise. Who said cruise? Nicole. Give yourself a point. Yeah. In fact, they say, well, Christian cruises, right? Well, they get on a Christian cruise and go to the convention. Yes. That's how my uncle and aunt met. So maybe, many witnesses met that way. So that was a way that witnesses met. Well, Nicole, that's good. Well, thank you for playing the game. So give yourself a point, okay?
Thank you.
All right. So let's go to the next question. Next question is this. You can disagree with the Watchtower. You can have a big bone to pick with them. You would be known as an apostate. But there are people that really aren't apostates, but still have a big bone to pick. Don't answer till the music stops. What will we call those people? All right.
A chemo.
Not a PIMO. What do we call people? They're not a PIMQ. No, not a PIMQ. What do we call people that are not apostates, but they are speaking up against the Watchtower.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, no, good guesses. I'll give you another clue. It begins with O. Begins with O. Well, opposers. Who got opposers? Opposers. Who was the lady? Is that Nicole? Is that who was that? Is that Nicole?
Nicole.
Okay, Nicole, give yourself another point, Nicole. You're in the running here for a really good prize. So give yourself. I'm glad. Well, thank you, Nicole. You're doing a great job here tonight, Nicole. Really. All right. So let's do this.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So let's do another one right now. Let me just reset this. Give us a second to do it. All right. So, anyways, during the 1970s, well, you probably remember many Jehovah's Witnesses, well, the men in particular, were getting perms done. Do you remember that? Maybe not, but there were many Jehovah's Witness men, including elders, that were having perms done to their hair. And then also, they were wearing a certain jacket, a certain style jacket that really the Watchtower didn't approve of. Let's play the music. You tell me what style jacket it was. What type of jacket? Well, we had a man say Nehru first. Shirley, right before you. I don't know who that man was.
That would be me. 864.
864. Give yourself a point. Nehru jackets.
Thank you, Rick.
Did you wear? Did you wear it?
I remember that time frame. I was young at that time. I remember it.
Oh yeah, no. In fact, well, the brothers were wearing Madras. I had a Madras jacket. I had a sport jacket that had like it had military flaps. It had a belt, and they didn't like all of that. They wanted you to wear a conventional suit. And in many respects, some of the congregations wanted you to wear a white shirt and not any other shirt. So that's good. Give yourself a point. That's good. All right. So, all right. Let's go along with this. All right. We got another question here for you. Give yourself. Now, you guys are gonna be on the honor system for me. Keep these points because they will give you some really nice prizes. We have $100 prize in the mix. So stay in here with us. Let's ask another question here tonight. As strange as it might seem, and, I have really been following the Jehovah's Witness movement here for many years, and they said there was blood in Hershey bars. At least that was the rumors that were being spread. There was blood in wine. There was blood at Dairy Queen ice cream. But this is the strangest thing that I ever heard blood would be in. Answer when the music stops.
Red velvet cake.
No, it wasn't Red Velvet Cake. I never heard of that one. So what was the strangest thing that the Jehovah's Witnesses said blood was in?
Candy.
No. I'll give you a clue. It was a building material.
Milk?
No. A bill. Well, I don't know what you'd bill with milk, but that's all right. So it was a building material. What did the witnesses say there was blood in, and it'd be best not to use that material? Nobody knows this? I'm really surprised. That's really...
Was it cement?
Well, we have... What was that?
Cement.
No, we have cement. We got Jimmy Bell saying asbestos, was it? Boy, I'm surprised you guys don't know this. I thought this would jump right out at you. I really thought this would jump right out at you. I'll give you another clue. Well, people buy it at the Home Depot left and right.
Joint compound.
No, I'll give you a clue. Generally, you buy it in 4x8 sheets. It's plywood. It's plywood. Yeah. Who said? Who said? I mean, who said plywood?
864.
All right, well, give yourself a point, 864. But let me tell you something. They actually did say that. It was a question from readers that there was blood in plywood. The glue that held it together had blood in it. And, you really wouldn't want to use that plywood. But can you imagine going to the Home Depot or lumberyard? I want to buy some plywood, but I want blood in it. They would think you were nuts, But
that just goes to show you can't trust anything they say.
Oh, Nadine. Is that Nadine? Yeah. Well, that's exactly the truth. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hey, look, we got time for one more. And then, all right, so let's do this. All right, let me do this. Let's get the music set back up again. We got time for one more, but you guys have got to be on the honor system. You've got to mark it down to win the prize. So let's go with this one right now. The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society was started in, give me a date. All right, what year was the Watchtower?
1874. 1874.
1914.
We're a little bit off.
1979.
We're a little bit off. I'm going to tell you right now. 1884. You're all close, but no cigar. All right. Well, thank you very much for playing Jeopardy here tonight, our Watchtower trivia program. And we really appreciate that. And thank you all for coming in.
Russell stock, the JWs.
What's that? All right. Well, listen, we're gonna end the program here. We're going to Awakening After the Watchtower. Friends, I want to tell you, we have had a blast here tonight. We had Barbara Anderson on earlier. Excellent program. We did JW World News. And I'm going to tell you something, friends. The numbers are continuing to escalate. We are seeing more and more people coming in. Now, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? That tells us that there's more and more people leaving the Watchtower. Isn't that a wonderful thing? A lot of our friends and relatives, they will be leaving soon. They will be getting a hold of us. What an amazing thing to see this happening. It is a gift from God when you think about it. We are seeing the demise of a very difficult organization, a dangerous and destructive cult. We are seeing it tank. And thank you very much for being part of the program. All of you guys are making a difference. I'm telling you, when you call in and you speak up, it makes a big difference in letting people know what's going on behind the Watchtower. Friends, I want you to keep standing tall. I don't want you to ever give in, up or out. I want you to keep waving the flag of victory. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. We're going to Eric. He's coming up next right now, Awakening After the Watchtower. Stay with us. Don't leave us. Stay on the same channels you're on. Eric coming up next. Thank you very much for joining in.